with Rex Pickett, whose book, Sideways, has now been made into a play and is in its 8th sold-out week in Santa Monica. It's received rave reviews from all the critics, and best of all, Pinot Noir is served at every show, and Rex himself is at every performance to chat with theatergoers. Rex, tell us a little bit about how the play is different from the movie and the book.
Well, the movie is Alexander Payne's version of my novel, and the play is my version of my novel. The movie is very faithful to my book, but I say this to every, when I first met Alexander Payne in person, after talking to him on the phone once, and he'd read my then unpublished novel. We're talking about 2000 now, 12 years ago. I met him, he hugged me, he said, "Oh, you're a genius," and all this stuff. And then he said, "You know what I loved about," bear in mind, folks, Sideways was written in first person from the standpoint of Miles. So he said, "You know what I loved about your novel so much, Rex?" And I said, "What?" He goes, "Your characters are so effing pathetic." And I went, "Oh my God," I felt like a Ferrari dart had hit me in the chest or something. I went, "All right, well, okay, just make the movie, I need some money." But that's how he saw the characters. He saw them as more pathetic, and
Wow.
and I didn't. I mean, clearly what they do is, you could see it that way, Jack's transgressive behavior, certainly. But what we did is, when I was approached a year and a half to go to do the play, it wasn't my idea, it was somebody else's idea. And what I decided is that we would base it, well, for legal reasons, I have to base it on the novel. It was based almost exclusively on the novel, but there are scenes in the play that, there are scenes in the novel that, in the movie that I could have used in the play, but I elected not to. I elected to kind of skew more to the novel, and I had a lot of choices, Natalie. Obviously there's a lot of compression. There's only a few things I can use. I think what the main difference is that the play, Jack is not quite the remorseless, sex-crazed Terminator that Thomas Hayden Church plays him as. He still does his bad things, but he shows more contrition. I get, by the way, this is coming from people come out of the theater. I've had people come out of the theater telling me they love it better than the movie when I say, look, don't quote me on that, A, and B, there are 3 entirely different mediums. Book, which is sort of a private experience, a one-on-one, movie, which is a 2-dimensional experience, and theater, which is alive. It's 3-dimensional. It's like the characters came out of the screen and walked right down in your living room. This is a very intimate space. It's a less than 99-seat theater. It's a very, very intimate space. But I think the relationship is emotionally deeper and richer in some ways than it is in the movie. There are a couple scenes in the second act that really take you away from the movie and more into the novel, places that Alexander really were out of his comfort zone. There's a very well-known, it's becoming known, but the first scene of the second act is after Miles and Maya, go to bed together. In the movie, as everyone remembers, they're sitting under a little walnut tree, and it's like, oops, we have a rehearsal dinner to go to. There's a little argument, you never see her again. Well, in the novel, that's not how it goes down. They're in bed in the Windmill Inn, of course, and she's going on and on about how her friend Tara, not Stephanie, is so in love with his friend Jack, and he can't take it anymore and confesses. It's a much more powerful, for those who know the scene, and you're watching it, it's 15 feet, 20 feet away from you, Natalie, it is powerful. Well then, and I kind of don't want to give it away, she has something to confess too, and it's in the novel.
Oh, and it's not in the movie.
It's not in the movie at all.
Her
But maybe I can say, because maybe a lot of people have read the novel, but Act 1, the final scene, ends at a hot tub where all 4 of them go up to this hot tub scene, which is in the novel, and Maya opens these Rishaborg and Latashes that she got from her husband in their divorce.
Oh,
but it turns out
custody of the wine cellar.
But it turns out Jack gave her, because Miles doesn't want to continue this thing anymore. He's got a train wreck he's trying to stop. Well, Jack gave her money to open those bottles.
Oh,
and
really?
she gives Miles the money back. It's a very powerful scene. It's not anywhere in the movie, and it is out of Alexander Payne's comfort zone completely. So you still get the movie, and you still get Miles and Jack, whatever. And the ending, that ending I don't want to give away for people, but the ending in the novel is a much more, I wouldn't call it a happier ending, but it's it's definitely more redemptive, and it's more cathartic, and there is a Miles and a Maya, and it's not just on an answering machine, and it's not just a guy knocking on a door. You know,
Right.
in the Alexander Payne, the director and co-writer, gave me every draft of the screenplay. And just to give you an example, and then I'll shut up. But he gave me every draft of the screenplay. In the first 3 drafts of the screenplay, the movie ended with Miles getting Maya's message on his answering machine. It went to black. And after the 3rd draft, I finally said, Alexander, that's neither fish nor fowl. I mean, I know you don't want to do my ending because he said it was too Hollywood.
Really?
Yeah,
He felt it was too Hollywood.
Maya shows up at the wedding. In the book and in the play, but it's what she says. It's not like we're going to walk off in the sunset and get married. There's a forgiveness in it. That people cry at the end of the movie. People don't cry. There's a little bit of a downbeat. Now, the end of the play, people are going out crying.
Really?
In the novel, it's in the novel and it's earned. And I said, okay, Alexander, I understand that, but I mean, could you? I'm just letting you know, this ending is neither fish nor fowl. So then he wrote in where Miles drives up, and there's a little bit of a voiceover, and he knocks on the door.
And it has to be raining.
Well, that's great that it's raining because it shows that it's another some time has passed. I love that little ending, but it's not the ending in the play or in the book. And I said, Alexander said, I hate sentimentality. I said, I do too when it's slathered on like Nora Ephron or one of those horrible filmmakers. You just they do it blatantly or whatever. But if you earn sentimentality, if you earn it, I mean, Miles takes a beating in this movie, and he takes even more of a beating in the play. He finds out, his ex-wife has gotten remarried, and she's going to be at the wedding. He finds out later she's pregnant, much later. He finds out his novel's not getting published, and his best friend here is cheating on him and ruining his whole week. I mean, especially when he finds out his novel's not going to get published. I mean, he needs some scintilla of hope, I feel.
That comes in the Brooklyn joint.
That was kind of me in some ways, but with the exception of Jack, whatever. So those are some of the ways it actually, I think, look, I love the movie. I want to go on record saying that. It did so much for me. It's a great movie, but it is Alexander Payne's slant on the book. For example, in the movie, people don't probably remember little scenes that I do. Miles goes and buys a porno magazine. I mean, that's not me. That's not in the book. It's not in the play. I don't have any problem with people read porno or whatever. That just isn't me, but it makes Miles look kind of pathetic. Here's another major thing, Natalie, and then I'll try to shut up, but I know it's hard to get you shut up, is Miles, again, first person standpoint of me, Miles in the book is a funny guy. He's not an 8th grade school teacher. He's an out-of-work screenwriter, and he makes light, albeit in a sardonic and often mordant, in his mordant way. He makes light of his, of his current state of destitution. He's a funny guy. In the movie, Paul Giamatti's not a funny guy. You laugh at him, but you never laugh at anything he says. If you go back and watch the movie, you'll see that. You laugh at the situations, the physical comedy, but you don't laugh at anything he says. Sometimes you laugh.
It's just pathetic, yeah.
You laugh at some of Jack's dumbass stuff about, let's move up here and get a winery. I'm going to call it the wedding. But you really don't laugh at anything Miles says. You laugh at things that Miles says in the book. And, of course, I drew so much of the dialogue from the book, which is one of the reasons I did the play, is because the book is so dialogue-driven, which is one of the reasons the publishing industry, I have over 100 rejection letters. They thought it read too much like a screenplay. But that dialogue now is in the play. And Miles, he can be a pretty funny guy at times. It admits everything else. So that's the long-winded answer to your question. The differences between, I think for people who saw the movie, if they were to go in and see the play, and we were very careful about this, and I was really careful. If they went in and saw the play and just saw the highlights of the movie, it's kind of you're sort of selling out, really, in my opinion. You've got to give them something richer, something more than what the movie gave them, which was something rich and more vis-a-vis its own medium, and that's what look. I'm at the theater every night when they're pouring the wine, high-end Pinot before every performance from a different winemaker, and they're glad to come down. And I'm there at the close of every performance. I don't go and see it anymore because I only see the mistakes and a few little words I'd like to cut. And I just, it's finally, I guess in some ways, and here's a little bit of a downbeat note, is when Sideways came out, the movie, it was all about the director and the actors or whatever. I mean, a lot of people, again, to repeat myself in your first interview, thought it was the Immaculate Conception, that just sprung from nowhere. Well, it sprung from a guy's 10 years of his life. The 90s was a horrible decade of mine, and I've blogged about this extensively, My Life on Spec, The Writing Sideways on Stage32.com for anyone who wants to go there and read that 15,000-word Jeremiah.
We'll link to it. We'll link to it.
Yeah, 15,000 word Jeremiah. But they'll get a real good sense when you're going to ask about writing. I would just say go there. You want to know what it's like to try to be a writer, read that. My Life on Spec, the writing of Sideways. But, you know, I didn't get really, I don't think, the respect or attention I deserve for what I did there. You know, on the other hand, I give all the credit to Alexander Payne, but nobody else, the producer and the actors, they never once thanked me in any award speech. Never even, one point, Virginia Madsen thanked everyone, including her dog, and didn't say my name. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. You know, so, you know, what's kind of neat when I look at the poster for the play, it says Rex Pickett Sideways. It is my story. It really is, you know. And so, and had it not worked, it'd been a bummer. I wouldn't be talking to you right now. First of all, the fact that it works and there's so much love for those characters, I don't know, I feel like, at the risk of immodesty, is a tribute to what I suffered and what I ultimately dared to go and put. I mean, that's my personal life up on the screen. You know,
absolutely.
Finding about your wife or staggering out of the hitching post or whatever. That's my personal life. That's how I was circa the 90s, you know. So
wow. And so is Vertical circa the early 2000s for you?
Yeah,
I mean, Jack and Miles go to Oregon, the Pinot Noir Festival.
Well,
in this one,
Vertical is literally my life when Sideways hit. I was just turned upside down. I mean, suddenly now, even though I was saying a moment ago that maybe I didn't get the respect, I certainly still, though, was a celebrity. I'd go to wine festivals and there'd be 300 people waiting to sign the book. So really, Vertical is Vertical is 7 years later. Miles has written a novel and he's gotten it published and it's been made into a movie and he's a success. And his mother's had a stroke and she's in assisted living in San Diego. Jack is divorced and on the skids and has a kid, as my friend Roy ultimately happened to him. And so Miles gets offered to be the master of ceremonies at the International Pinot Noir celebration in the Great Willamette Valley of Oregon, which is planted in over 80% Pinot Noir, as I was. So Miles' mother wants to be with her sister in Wisconsin. So he hatches his plan. He leases this luxury, deluxe, handicap-equipped ramp van. He rolls in his wheelchair-dependent mother, her pot-smoking Filipina nursemaid, her little Yorkie Terrier, a depressed Jack, and 12 cases of Willamette Valley Pinot, and they head off for Oregon en route to Wisconsin. That's Vertical.
Of course. So, that's very formulaic.
No, it's not. It's very funny, but it's personal, and you know, I write from a very personal place, and then I fictionalize. I go out from there, and you know, for me, Vertical is the flip side of the same coin. Sideways was about failure.
Right.
Vertical's about success. And it's the same coin, Natalie.
Oh, yeah, no, this is great. We evolve along with you. And now you've got book 3 in the works.
Yes.
And I hear via the grapevine, Miles and Jack are off to another country.
Yes.
But we're not revealing which one yet, are we?
No, we're not going to reveal it yet, but it is in the. I wasn't going to write a part 3. Vertical, which I won't give away, does leave you hanging. But here, let me just go back to something. You know, I grew up in San Diego. I've been living in Santa Monica here at Los Angeles for a number of years. I've written so much about Southern California, the Pacific Coast. I've sort of really kind of depleted. You know, I really need something new. I need Miles and Jack. See, because when you say Miles and Jack, it's really Miles, because Vertical really, it is Miles and Jack, but it really becomes more Miles and his mother. The last third of the story becomes more about the two of them in some ways. And it's really my journey. Sideways is my journey. It's not so much Jack's. And Vertical is even more my journey. And Jack will definitely be in there because he's such a wonderful foil. But I feel like I need to discover a new place. So, yes, I am going to go to another country. I can't disclose it. And I will be there with a writer in residence at a university. And it will be a major wine region. And I will say that. And I will be there for probably anywhere from 8 months to a year, because that's how I write, Natalie. I don't just go for a month and then I come back and I got enough material. No, it has to seep into my soul. The thing that made Sideways so successful as a movie and as a book, and Alexander, this is what I love about the guy, is he wanted to shoot at the hitching post. He wanted to shoot it all. He didn't get everyone that he wanted, and then we could tell stories about that. But he wanted to shoot in the setting. He didn't want to. He could have just set it in Napa, Sonoma. Hey, if it had been another director, it could have been 2 guys doing Jello shots in Cabo. I mean, you know, this is Hollywood. You don't know what they're going to do to your work. So, you know, verisimilitude is a word I use to writers. Verisimilitude, you know, the ring of truth. Give me authenticity. Give me 3 dimension. Give me a character that you know, that I believe you know, and I think you're off to the races. With
absolutely. Well, you know, I was thinking if hypothetically, Jack and Miles go to Australia, you could call it Down Under, which would fit directionally with
you know what?
vertical. And
I like that, Natalie. You're a writer, and I don't
I'm
want
a hack.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you tell me I blurbed a book that was a hack job? No, come
Oh,
on.
no. You're fine.
But
You're fine.
no, honestly, and that is a potential. I don't want to give it away, but I like your title.
Yeah, Down Under. You got to have a directional thing, you know. Anyway, so now on to the broader world of aspiring writers and everybody who would like to be you. What tips do you have for
I don't
writers?
want to be me.
Okay, well, your success, whatever. Get rid of the fake modesty. What tips do you have for aspiring writers?
You know, gosh. Well, one thing, you can follow me on Twitter because I do hashtag writing. And I've over 1,000 tweets, and they want me to put them together. And I've done a couple of workshops, and I'm going to start doing some workshops. You know, there's an old saying, because I could talk about this for ages, and the internet is changing a lot of things. So Vertical's a much longer novel than Sideways, so it's been getting a little harder for people to read. It's 150,000 words. Sideways is only 85,000 words. In my day, when I read a lot in my 20s, 150,000 word, 400-page novel would be a medium-sized book. Today, it's like War and Peace. So I think you have to be a little mindful of the market, but I'm not mindful of the market. And there is an old saying, write what you know, and I know it's a cliche, and there's a reason, but it was when I started to write from things that happened to me and things that I was going through in my life and fictionalizing them and working myself through those things. You know, for instance, when I wrote Sideways, I was in a state of total despair. I was totally destitute. I've often joked that if I could have afforded a gun, I would have shot myself. You know, but I couldn't sell that unless, I was smart enough to know, unless I laced it with humor. I think the key is character, and I think the key is conflict with character. So for me, Jack is the opposite of Miles, and it comes from my reading of Jung, you know, and I also say read a lot. If you want to write, read a lot. If you're writing movies, see the best movies. Read the best screenplays. Don't just go out and see the director or whatever. And really, you know, just educate yourself. I would steer away from how-to books on writing. I would try to find my own unique and singular voice, because even if agents, and I've had quite a few in my career and I've gotten to know them, even if they think that work is unique or whatever and they can't sell it, they like the fact that you have a new and singular voice and you aren't just writing the next rip-off high concept. So I would say, you know, and this is going to sound cliche, but write what you know, be unique, find your own singular voice, and don't just wait for this thing to sell, or I'm going to get an agent or whatever. Don't tell me about your whining, because when I wrote Sideways, you know, I mean, I had process servers knocking at the door. I mean, it was well, my advice there is just don't answer, because they're not allowed to walk in. Just keep writing.
Another useful tip.
I mean, and, you know, I've often said to people, how low can you go and still turn on your laptop? Don't whine to me, because it went years. Admittedly, in the 80s, I made a couple of independent feature films, and the second one was released, and it didn't fare well. I could have walked away and maybe gotten a job, I don't know what, teaching or something. And I didn't. I just kept at it. You know, it's really about drive and passion and dedication, and how low, how deep can you go? If you're in a state of despair, or I don't know, if you're a drug addict, write about that, because that's something you know intimately. You know, and don't just make up cops you've never met, and firemen and space monsters and sci-fi creatures. And you know what? If you do and you make it, good luck. But that's not the kind. I am who I am. And Sideways endures to this day, and it really does, you know, again, at the risk of immodesty, because I wrote these indelible, iconic, archetypal characters who have a certain universality to them that lives to this day. You know, and I see it every Friday and Saturday and Sunday at the play, the validation, be yourself, go bare your soul, go deep. Hey, I went so deep. My ex-wife, who I adore, she produced and acted in both my feature films. She now teaches at NYU. She won an Academy Award for a short film that I wrote, Best Live Action Short 2000, Oscar. Yeah, I get custody rights to it. Works well in a wine bar, by the way. You know, she told me to burn Sideways.
Wow. It
was too personal for her. And I almost did, Natalie. I love her to death. We're very close friends. She told me to burn it. My agent talked me out of it.
I'd say that's a reason for divorce now. She's probably a Merlot lover. You're going to tell me next.
Right. No, she's not a Merlot lover. I think there's some of the more personal details about Miles. That's why. But we won't go there. You know, I know this is a family show.
Well, Rex, that is a remarkable story. I mean, you richly deserve all your success, and
Thanks,
I really
Mary.
appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, and all the folks, more importantly, who are listening and watching this and looking to you for inspiration, and all those who found, you know, a lot of enjoyment and pleasure in reading your books and watching the movies. So thank you, and I raise my glass to you.
All right.
Cheers.
Thank you, Natalie.